Welcome to Hillside Farm. My name is Ruth McKeaney, and we are back to the end of winter, early spring series that we are doing. Basically getting your gardens ready, you know, those last minute warm soups, or today, cookies. So it's just a fun series because it's that in-between time where you need a little pick-me-up and kind of vision for what's coming. So today I'm going to do Ruth's Barely Baked Chocolate Chip Cookies. They are in my book called Hungry for Home. And I get asked more questions about these cookies because everybody tries to replicate them and people are like, they're not as good as yours. I promise you, they're as good as mine. You might just not be doing it absolutely correctly. So here we go. I'm gonna start this out with, we started the oven, 375 on convection. Why am I doing it that way? Convection, it'll cook the outside quickly. And that's one of the secrets to these cookies, is the interior of them stay kind of doughy. So when I say Ruth's Barely Baked, they really are Ruth's Barely Baked, but they look done from the outside. So we do that, and then I take 4 sticks of butter. I melt them mostly down, not completely, but because we aren't going to use a hand mixer or a standing mixer, all right, I'm gonna go get the butter and I'll bring it right back. Okay, here we are with 4 sticks of butter. And as you can see, it's not totally melted, although it doesn't hurt anything if you do, because I end up putting them in the fridge before I put them in the oven anyway. But put this into your big bowl, just like this. And I'm not even a perfectionist when it comes to baking. I know they say that baking you have to measure perfectly. I mean, my kids are like, these ones taste a little different, but all right, here we go, 4 sticks. Then we're gonna take, let's do our sugar first. We're gonna take a cup of white sugar and mix that in with this. I don't put my egg right into this because it's warm and you don't want your egg to turn into scrambled eggs. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this. And into this, I'm going to add 2½ cups of light brown sugar. I've already measured that, so I'm just gonna dump that in there. I can't tell you, I think long before I wrote the book, I was known for these cookies all over the place. My dear friend, Lisa, maybe 30 years ago, gave me her recipe, which was very similar, and over the years, I've just kind of tweaked it, added a little of this, a little less of that. All right, get this all mixed up. You don't want there to be any clumps. Now, you do not want to use a hand mixer. Here's why. A hand mixer whips up that butter, and that makes them a little more cakey. This has to be done by hand. You just want it all incorporated. Now I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I keep my vanilla in one of these things. It looks about right. 1.5 teaspoons. Mix that. Now I'm going to do 3 eggs, and yes, 3 eggs from our chickens, so they're all different colors. Here's a fun fact. Fresh eggs out of the chicken coop, I think they can sit on your counter. I think it's like 10 to 14 days. It's like crazy. You don't have to refrigerate them initially. All right, mix this up. Now, when I talk about entertaining, these cookies always come to mind because, and I'm going to show you later, I freeze these in cookie balls in Ziploc storage bags that are for the freezer. And I literally, what I do is, and I'll show you at the end, I make cookie balls and stick them in the freezer so I can pull them out at any time, and people think I've just made fresh cookies, even if they let me know 5 minutes before they got here. All right, this is mixed up. 1.5 teaspoons of a kosher salt, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and I mix these. And then 5 cups of flour. So here we go, the cup measure. 1, I've even tried using bread flour, and it was delicious with bread flour. It's just a little bit less starchy. All right. Mix this up. I'm going to use a big spoon for this. Well, and then I add the chocolate chips, and I keep my chocolate chips in this jar. I prefer, if I'm not at Costco getting a giant bag, I prefer Ghirardelli chocolate chips. They just melt differently. I don't even know another way to explain it, but if I have the time, I do pick up Ghirardelli chocolate chips, which is in pretty much any store in the bakery section. They've even got mini chips and like jumbo chips, so you can kind of swap it out when you want to. All right, I'm gonna use a spoon. This base of cookie dough I use at Halloween. I think I've mentioned where I let the kids crush up their own candy bars, and then they mix them in with the dough and they make their own candy bars. So it's kind of a versatile base for cookies. All right, here we go. And that oven's getting warm. It's getting warm in this kitchen. And usually I'm lucky if 3/4 of this gets into the fridge because my kids eat it. And I know, before anyone says anything, I realize you're not supposed to eat raw cookie dough. They eat raw cookie dough balls out of the freezer too. All right. And I know you're supposed to mix your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients separately. Sometimes I put it all together. It doesn't, I haven't noticed that makes a significant difference. All right. Now, we're going to do the chocolate chips. So you can just add as many as you want. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I have these boards. Years ago, my husband and I found a gentleman who made these really thin wooden boards because we wanted to serve the kids pizzas on it and things like that. We just thought it would be a fun way to serve lunch in the barn. But they work well for what I'm about to do. So I take this scooper. Now I get asked a lot what size a scooper is. I have no idea, and it's not on here. But I can tell you, here's my ice cream scoop. There's the difference. But it's also, there's a mini one. It's not the mini one. So somewhere in the middle. And again, if you want to make giant cookies, make giant cookies. Doesn't matter. Okay, I take and I make rows of these balls. And I fill up this entire board. And I'm going to put it in the fridge so that it all firms up. Because after it firms up, I can either take the balls off and put them in the freezer Ziploc baggie and put that in the freezer. Or when they firm up, I put them in the oven. So I'm going to take this board just like this, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, I don't know, 15 minutes. Let them harden, and then either some are going to be frozen, some are going into the oven, so I can show you exactly how to do them in the oven. All right, so what I've done is I've taken just a few of the balls out of the fridge because they're firm now, and I'm going to set them on the pan. Keep them kind of far apart. I'm only going to make a few because I'm saving the other ones. All right, stick this in. Again, it's at 375 convection. If you don't have convection, put it at 375 in your regular. All right, now we're going to watch them. Ordinarily, I would say 10 to 12 minutes. You're going to see, this is where the trick is. I mean, besides the hand mixing, they're going to brown on the edges, and they're going to look a little, maybe a little doughy on the middle. You won't get sick, I promise. It's what makes them fantastic. So when we pull them out, I'm gonna show you so that you see exactly the coloring that and again, if you like harder cookies, cook them all the way. I just like them barely baked. Okay, right now I've begun to smell it and I peeked in and they're a little brown on the base. Oh, it's hot. Whew. You see there's a little teeny bit of brown. There's a little brown on the edges. And then I just put them on a plate or a board. And I am telling you, I mean, they're hot, but they are so good. Ruth's Barely Baked. You have to give it a shot. It's in the cookbook. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.